clouds are on the up, or things are falling down. Celebrate the hard times, stay passionate through the lows. Find strength in the chaos, no matter which way it goes. It's not easy being blue. Heartbreak comes in many ways, the hardest times, the darkest days, but all these things get washed away with us, with us. The highs might not come every day, but memories do, and memories stay. Enjoy that moment anyway with us, with us, with us. It's not easy being blue. It's not easy being blue.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to the Monday assessment by the View from the Medway Fancast in partnership with Gillingham FC Supporters Club and sponsored by Snodhurst Used Car Sales and Service Station. Well, second show in just over a week, a week that we can talk about a win. Obviously, we didn't do a show for Tuesday night, but we are back today to talk about a 1-0 win over Bradford. So this evening, I am joined by Mr. Co-host David. I am joined by Eddie, and I'm joined by future, present ME7 host, Mr. Tom Jasper. How are you, gents? All right?
Oh, yeah.
Good, thank you.
Good. So it looks like the issues that have been going on today with X are continuing because he's screaming at me on the screen that we have not been able to go live there, even though now it's saying we have. So we will just quickly move straight on, boys, to the Views news this week and a quick look back at the Newport game. Coleman's sub-excuse, Lapsley's comments, and Dak, Nolan and Clark dropped. So myself and Tom have talked about this quite at length last Wednesday on ME7. So we will go with you first, Eddie, and a quick look back to Newport.
It was a bit of a weird game, really. Obviously they're a jinx team for us. We haven't beaten them since 1986, but we actually started off quite brightly. I know that sounds bonkers, and it was a fairly even game. And suddenly we're finding ourselves 3-0 down, and obviously we can't score goals, so it's not game over. But 3-0 really flattered Newport. I mean, the thing is, they had speed up front, and their pace up front just did for us, and we couldn't cope with it until it was too late. And then the second half, we actually gave it, like, we didn't fold like we might have done, earlier in the season. We weren't maybe quite as robust. We didn't fold. We carried on playing, pulled a goal back, should have pulled a second goal back, and we nearly set up a grandstand finish. I mean, it was a long shot, but it was disappointing, obviously, to lose to Newport, but it was just a weird game.
Yeah, it was definitely a strange one, especially in the first half hour. So, David, what were your thoughts on it, mate?
A bit like Eddie, really. It just goes to show you what pace can do at this level. And I know our recruitment team have been looking for pace for quite a while. And it just goes to show if you look in the right places and you sign the right players with pace on loan, they can cause teams all kinds of trouble. And that's kind of what happened for us. And obviously, the three centre halves didn't have their best day. Again, like Eddie said, we had chances second half where we probably could have maybe scored a couple more and made a bit more of a game of it. But I say at the moment and the way with us and scoring goals, it was just not meant to be.
Yeah, so obviously, Tom, we have spoken about it, you and myself, but obviously you were hosting that night. So do you fancy giving us a rundown of your actual thoughts as someone who can, rather than being asking the questions?
Yeah, sure. I mean, obviously a lot of it was pretty mentioned anyway, but I think this was the first time that we saw the 3/5 at the back kind of, at fault almost. Talk about individual errors for all the goals. I think all of the three centre halves did make errors at some point that led to goals, or at least good chances. But the the players that Eddie mentioned, the Camwas and the Adji boys, obviously they found holes in between our wing backs and our centre backs that we just didn't know how to deal with, and ultimately that's what it came down to. You know, those two players led to the goals. As David said, pacing the team against that back three is always going to sort of be a threat for us, and we just didn't know how to deal with it. And ultimately, when you're Gills and you're 2-0 down, well, when you're 1-0 down, it's hard enough, but when you're 2 and 3 down, it's virtually impossible. So it was a weird one because, as I said to you on the show the Wednesday night, we looked good going forward, but just didn't have the same kind of level of ability to put chances away that they did, and ultimately we're always going to be up against it, aren't we? So yeah, it feels like a long time ago now, to be fair, but weird game. But once you're 3-0 down after half an hour, done in it, game over.
Yeah. So we will just quickly, because we know I've given my thoughts on the game. The substitutions by Coleman and the excuses, well, the non-existent substitutions by Coleman, should we say? And yeah, David, I'll start with you on this one, mate. It's quite a weird one for me, like not making them and making an excuse that the ground was too hard. So yeah, I don't really know what else to say, mate.
It's a nonsense excuse. Every player warmed up on the pitch 30 minutes before kickoff. They would have been on that pitch 15 minutes at half time. The subs would have been on that pitch for 15 minutes getting used to it. They run up and down the touchline when they're warming up, which is part of the pitch that would have been firm. And yeah, you can't tell me over all of those subs' careers that they hadn't played on a firm pitch or an artificial pitch which can be firm. There's more to that I think, and I think we found out at the Bradford game that there was more to the reason than a firm pitch. I just think he probably got put under pressure to answer a question and didn't know what to say, and probably regrets that decision of saying the pitch was firm, so I didn't want to make any changes.
Yeah, and Tom, I'll go with you, mate.
Yeah, I think it showed, as David said, more of a lack of faith in potentially who he had on the bench. You know, it's not as if we had kids on the bench that were, you know, we had decent players on the bench that maybe could have impacted the game in a positive way. I think it does allude more to the fact he didn't want to change his setup. You know, he's been rightly kind of questioned for bringing on the likes of Nolan and Jaden Clark and sticking the full back and hope it works. Didn't want to do that again, obviously. So he didn't want to change the system, so he didn't change anything at all, really, which kind of I think it shows more about the players he had on the bench and not maybe feeling that they were up to it than anything else. I'd rather him have said nothing at all about it than come up with that, in all honesty. Yeah. But it's now the third time that he's mentioned, you know, wrong substitution decisions, or you know, it's a bit farcical, really. But ultimately, we'd probably know that there's more to it than meets the eye.
Yeah, it's and I think I said this the other night as well. It's more, you know, for me, he keeps banging on about being in management and football for 26 years, Eddie. So what were your thoughts on that?
It was an odd excuse. I wasn't expecting it as an excuse. The pitch did look like very firm and shiny, and I think it's one of these ones that's partly to deal with the rugby on it. I think it's a mixture pitch. I think maybe it was more... maybe it doesn't trust who was on the bench yet, but also we gave it quite a good go in the second half, and we pulled one back and could have got another one, and we were on top. So I think he might not have changed it because he thought actually we were actually playing quite well in the second half. I mean, obviously damage was already done, so I was a bit surprised there were no subs, but on the other hand, we did actually play a lot better in the second half with the same players. So
Yeah, fair enough. David, yourself, what were your thoughts on the sub excuse? Because I found it totally bizarre, to be quite honest.
You've already asked me, mate.
Oh, have I? Oh, sorry. Sorry, I'm trying to connect. I'm trying to connect to StreamYard. StreamYard and Facebook aren't connected, so I'm trying to do that as well as talk at the same time.
That's fine, mate.
So we will move on then to Jules Lapsley's comments and saying that it's like playing with his mates again and playing in the park. It kind of felt like it was a dig towards Gillingham. So yeah, David, I will go with you first on this one.
Yeah, I was actually quite surprised with George's comments because normally when players leave, you feel like they're making a dig at club or management, but this felt like he was making a dig at the players by saying that, which, going by the first 5 minutes of the game Saturday, where he got whacked twice by Little and Mackenzie went in quite tough on him. I don't think they liked his comments, but yeah, it does make you think that maybe behind closed doors, this tight knit group that we've got, maybe there are little cliques in there, and unfortunately for George, maybe he didn't fit in, and this was his way of just having a little dig. And obviously, Bradford had just won and he'd scored 2 goals and was on a high, and just wanted to have a little dig back at us.
Yeah, but I kind of found it funny when Robbie snapped him. I think it was like in the first 5 minutes. Robbie definitely showed him that he was there. But yeah, Eddie, I'll go with you on the Jules Lapsey comments. What were your thoughts on it? Do you think it's been misconstrued, or do you think it could have been, it could have been the intention?
Well, none of us really know what happens behind closed doors, do we? There's often footballers fall out with each other and whatever else. It's not always perfect lovey-dovey, is it? There's been the odd rumour around that it's not all, it's sometimes there is tension behind the scenes, and then someone else will say, who might know what's going on, say, no, it's fine. So we're just guessing. I'd imagine he's frustrated how it turned out at the Gills, because he's a decent player, I think. Maybe he just didn't get on with 2 or 3 players. We don't know. We're guessing. I wish him well, and we don't know. I mean, we can hear rumours, so I'm not repeating them on here, though. So I'm going to get in trouble.
We could probably surmise a few of them, but yeah. So yeah, and Tom, yourself?
Yeah, I mean, people that know me have always probably known that I've been a little bit critical of Lapsley. When we brought him in the window, after the takeover, we probably had to offer him exactly what he wanted in terms of contract and wage to get him in the door to help us out, to keep us, afloat. And ultimately, he didn't produce often enough for us. He was often, injured, and kind of when he was transfer listed last summer, I thought that was going to be the end of it. And he played well at the start of the season, and then kind of got his injury and then faded out into nothingness, and ultimately didn't do it enough for us. So wasn't that fussed to see him go. I think it was a wage off the books almost, and I wouldn't read a lot into comments being made. It might have been misconstrued somewhat. It might have been just a case of more about the way he felt about Bradford, more about the way he felt about us. Bradford's a massive club, obviously, with a huge fan base, and he probably has landed on his feet somewhat by leaving us and going to Bradford. So I would say it's, there's not a lot to it. You could potentially read into it and go, oh, he's making a little sly dig at the state the club's been left in, but we'll never know unless we get told by Eddie. So, later on.
Unless Eddie tells us. Right, so we will just quickly touch on the Dak, Nolan and Clark being dropped situation, but I want to do it in isolation rather than it, because it was before kickoff. So we will talk about the game after that. But so there was things that were said on Saturday. I don't know how true they are, that certain words were said to John Coleman by a certain Bradley Dack about, well, not even being on the bench. And before that, he posted on his Instagram something that was, well, could have been quite petulant if it was intended towards the manager. If you've seen that, I can't remember what the comment was now. Was it about?
It's about stupidity, wasn't it? About
stupidity,
never
yeah,
underestimate
like
yeah, I don't get it personally, but
so yeah, Tom, what were your thoughts about the 3 of them being dropped? Because Clark's our top goal scorer, right, as it stands. He's barely got a look in under Coleman, and Nolan is for me is the laziest of the lazy players. And then Bradley Dack, I don't necessarily think he's done much wrong. He's just not had the time to prove himself, has he, mate?
Yeah, so individually, I think Clark and Nolan do not fit into A, John Coleman system, and B, a John Coleman team in terms of perception of character and work rate, maybe. You know, Clark and Nolan would not go into a 5-3-2 easily, as has been proven by their cameos at wing back. So if they're not going to add anything to the formation that John Coleman likes, he's not going to pick him. And Dak, he should be in that number 10 role, owning it, making it his own, and playing week in, week out as much as his body will let him. For some reason, he isn't. He's not going to get anywhere by having cameos off the bench. 5 minutes here, 10 minutes there. But clearly, as you said before the show, like Nevitt and Morgan and have all started in that role ahead of him in where he should naturally be playing. So maybe him and Coleman don't see eye to eye. I do think maybe, and again, this is just opinion, that there is a bit of an ego with Bradley Dack that John Coleman isn't used to, from having players like Atkinson, who have probably come from a different, route up into sort of League Two football with him. I just don't think any of them fit in right now, frankly. And if John Coleman said that in no uncertain terms, then that's obviously, this season hasn't gone the way that Dak would have wanted it to for himself, especially. He would have seen it as a bit of a homecoming for him, a bit of a chance of redemption, and ultimately that hasn't happened. Putting things on Instagram is stupid these days. It's going to get picked up and talked about and torn apart. So you do it out of frustration, and then you probably regret it, don't you? For weeks afterwards. But he's done that now. We've all seen it and gone, oh, that's probably what it means. Yeah. But yeah, I think right now there's a case for all three of those being dropped, personally.
Yeah, and David.
Yeah, I think Tom summed that up pretty well. But I said, while Coleman's in charge and is as rigid as he is with his formation, Nolan and Clark they just don't fit. At the Newport game, when you're 3-0 down at half time and you come out still with a back five and you're not changing your formation to get more attacking players on the pitch, then those two are kind of, unless they're going to play in the number 10 role or at wing back, then we're not going to see the best out of them. And I wouldn't be surprised if we don't see them again this season. And I think there's a big decision to be made in the summer regarding both of them, Nolan and Clark, especially if Coleman is here next year and this is his formation, then I can't see those two being here. And unfortunately for Dak, it's just not worked. For me, he's not going to be an impact player now unless he starts. Bringing him on for 10 minutes, he's not got the movement anymore to impact a game as a sub. I think you've either got to start him or he just sits on the bench, or he's not in the squad, unfortunately. And again, they've got a big decision to make with him, because obviously we've got the option with him, and I'm sure everyone remembers the old Bradley Dack, and we all wanted this to work. And for me, I just don't think it has. And I think all three could go at the end of the season, and it's a shame, because I think everyone wanted Jack Nolan to do well when he came in. Jaden Clark's done really well. He's still our top goal scorer, and he can't even get on the pitch. And and obviously, Bradley Dack, everyone was happy with. So it'd be interesting to see Saturday if any of them get back on the bench, or whether all three are left out again.
Yeah, because Eddie, there was a rumour, wasn't there, before kickoff as well, that all three of them had gone home, which has proved to be wrong, because we saw them walk into the bench before kickoff. But I'm just puzzled more so, with Clark, because, as David has said, and as Tom said, he's our top goal scorer. He looked like he'd made real good steps in the summer. He basically did his own pre-season before any of the players came back. So what I don't know what more he has to do as a player, as a young player, to get back into this side. Do you?
I think it's, as alluded to earlier, it's the structure of the team and the pattern of play and how he wants to set up. So obviously it depends if Coleman stays. But if you think back to the end of December, if you asked Gillingham fans what they wanted a pattern of play and a settled side.
Yeah.
We've now got elements of those, I think. It's not obviously the finished article, but these are sort of things we wanted. And if you do have a settled team, then not everyone's going to be in it. And I think there's three different reasons for the three different players, I think. So I think that Nolan just hasn't done it for us, really. And it's really disappointing. I had high hopes. So I think he just doesn't justify a starting place from what he's done this season. Maybe, I mean, if you're just making a decision on who you are going to start with. We were chatting in the pub after a recent game, and we're like, we want Dak to succeed, right? And if you can't last the 90 minutes, right, I'd rather he started and went off after an hour. And then really maybe set the tone of the match than having to come into it when it's already maybe settled or we're a goal down or chasing the game or whatever. Maybe that would help. But again, it depends on the structure the manager wants. And the third one, Clark is. People keep saying he's our top scorer. I mean, it's quite a low bar at the moment. Yes, but what has he done really in the last 3 months to go wow? Yeah. So I think he's in the group of players that might start or might not, who might be on the bench, might not, but he's not a definite starter for me. Despite the stats, I think he's slightly flattered by the stats of, getting a couple against Tranmere in the last minute when, they're chasing the game and stuff. I mean, he's still got to score the goals, and we're desperate for anyone to score a goal, don't get it wrong. But if you look at his actual impact on, say, our last 20 games that he's been involved with, it's not been amazing, but no one's been amazing. But therefore, I can see that he's just gone down a different route. And it's just managers have their favourites or their structure they like. And, we've only won 2 games under Coleman, but the improvement in some of the other games has been marked, like Walsall away, and in certain games and group where we've been stuffed up by the officials as well. So people keep saying, oh, he's only won 12, 13 games or whatever. But he could easily have won 5, could have, but that's football. Football's not always fair. So I just feel that the atmosphere and the vibe about it all would be slightly different if we just had some competent referees in the last 2 months.
Yeah.
Just one thing, Chris. I think those 3 players we mentioned there, they all scream. They're not the overly most reliable. They're all quite quite flair players. If Coleman wants structure and solidity to begin with, those 3 don't match up to that.
No. And I suppose as well, you've got 2 of them that are actual wingers. So if you've got wing backs and he's playing a back 5, then there's not really any place for him to sit in the team anyway, is there? Right. So sorry. We'll move on quickly to Bradford. So Bradford were founded in 1903. They won a 2nd division title in 1907, 1908, leading to promotion to the 1st division. The club experienced a tragic fire at Valley Parade in 1985, which resulted in 54 deaths. Bradford spent 2 seasons in the Premier League and in 1999-2000 avoided relegation with just 36 points. So we will quickly get on to our team. And we had Morris in goal. We had a back 5 of Max Clark, Sam Gale, Connor Masterson, Andy Smith and Romeo Hutton. We then had the 2 in front of them of Amani Little and Robbie McKenzie. Morgan in at the 10. And a front 2 of Ollie Hawkins and Joe Bode. So, gentlemen, I will start with you, Tom. What were your thoughts on the lineup, and would you have made it any different with what was available?
Well, it's funny because when we win, we don't really go back and go, I would have made these changes. Obviously, we all now know that this is kind of the way that we're going to line up formation-wise. I'd asked a question on my show last night about whether Aimer and Masterson's change was to get Aimer out or to get Connor in, and if Connor was going to come in regardless, which of those 3 was going to be the one to be sacrificed. I think all of them against Newport had had cause to maybe be rested, but it's Aimer that got the. I think if you're looking at Connor and Max being two that are out of contract in the summer, maybe they're both playing for one spot. So he's giving both Connor and Max a chance to kind of audition, if that's the case. It might be completely wrong, but Connor did well. Bradford didn't really have any sort of threat. They didn't have an out-and-out striker, so we're quite comfortable actually for a lot of the game in that sense. Hawkins, I will probably continue to wonder what he offers us. I do think that as much as some people say he is a good target man, I think a target man just encourages us to go one-dimensional. And Bradford or any team just gets players around him and pulls. They pull him, they push him, but that's all part and parcel of having a 6 foot wherever he is target man. We should be looking to play another way to get around that and not be badgering referees for free kicks every time the ball goes in the air. That's my own opinion. Hawkins, I don't think he's going to be here in the summer, so I would probably use my option somewhere else. But Joe Bode earned his place in the sod. I think him and Morgan look quite good on Saturday, and the rest of them sort of pick themselves. So no real shocks there, but I think he's just putting a few players in there to keep it fresh, to sort of keep people guessing.
Yeah, and Eddie, I think it's kind of a given now, isn't it? That back five and Morrison goal, I think that's kind of nailed on at any given time, and Little Mackenzie in front of him. I just think it's a variation of maybe the front three. So what were your thoughts on the starting 11? Were you surprised?
Well, I was interested to see how Masterson did coming back, and because I'm a big fan of his, if he's playing like he did when he first came to the club, he was outstanding. He's not had a fantastic season this season, and so I was delighted to see him score, but also how he played. I thought if you're choosing between him and Aimer, and Masterson's playing how he normally should, then I'd pick Masterson ahead of Aimer, and so I was glad to see that back five. The one up front that everyone would debate is Hawkins. Would you have whoever it is up front instead? Look, he's not the most mobile. He's not a fox in a box. But I do feel a bit sorry for Hawkins. He gets double hugged and just completely cuddled most games. That I don't understand how someone, like in the Premier League on VAR, someone touches someone and they go down like they've been shot and they get a penalty. Literally, two people wrestling him to the ground and they just wave play on. I'm a bit baffled by that. I mean, look, we didn't get that with Akinfenwa when we had him in the team either. It's just like our referees just don't care, or they're told not to look at it. But apart from that, it was mostly the 10 of the 11 I would have picked. I'll be honest.
Yeah, and David, I've gone from Tom, I've gone from Eddie, and now I'll go to you. And no one's actually mentioned the anomaly on the bench from Saturday. That Jacob Wakeling is alive. Just to clarify, he's actually alive.
Did anyone see him warm up?
Yeah.
I was shocked.
Yeah. So, David, and yourself.
Yeah, I was slightly shocked to see Masterson start, but just because I thought the back five was going to be the back five for the rest of the season. But as I mentioned earlier, when all three centre-backs made a mistake at Newport, you kind of felt that one had to change, and they've gone with Max. I've always felt that Masterson's better in a 4, but I did think he actually looked more comfortable being in the middle of the 3, where normally when it's him, Aimer and Ogie, obviously he's normally where Smith was playing, and he can kind of sometimes get a bit dumb for pace being down the flank. So to see him in the middle, I thought that was really good. And I'm going to have to agree with Tom. I'm not a big Ollie Hawkins fan. And that's now, because for me, Ollie Hawkins did his job a year and a half ago. And the fact that a year and a half on, he's still in the team, I think it doesn't say much for the rest of the strikers, for the fact that he's still getting in. he does get fouled, but he also fouls a lot. He falls up. Falls to the floor, wanting free kicks, and it's like Tom says, it's the job of a centre forward. They do get pushed and pulled, and he does his job to a degree, but very rarely does he win much that puts anyone else in. But yeah, I think the rest of it picked itself. Regarding the bench, as I said, with the 3 that got dropped, it'd be interesting to see whether Wakelin, Williams, maybe Cornish, whether they're on the bench again at the weekend, or whether the dropped 3 come back in. But I do feel sorry for Wakelin. It can't be fun for him. His actual club don't want him, and the club he's on loan at don't seem to want him. And it just feels that for a young player, he's wasted. Unfortunately, had a year of his career wasted.
Yeah, see, I thought it's a weird one for me, because I thought that, first game of the season, scored just after half time. He's looked impressive when he's come on, but I just don't understand. I'm not being funny, but if 2 managers are doing it, then I suppose they can't be wrong, can they? But for me, I'd put him up front over Hawkins probably every day of the week. But it is what it is, boys. It is what it is. So we will quickly just touch on her game 2. Obviously, at the weekend was her game 2 fixture at Priestfield against Bradford. The campaign movement, founded in 2021, aims to combat sexism and promote gender equality in sport, ensuring a welcoming and inclusive environment for everyone. So I know, Tom, you've got a daughter that plays football, if I'm not mistaken.
That's all she does. All she does is talk about football.
It's a great movement. It's a great campaign and movement, isn't it, mate? Really.
Yeah, and obviously, I mean, I coach an under-9s girls team as well, which he just now sort of started playing in, and to see the enjoyment and the natural enjoyment in them, and obviously the team that she's in have got girls up from under 6s sort of soccer schools up until ladies team have formed for the first time this season. So it shows just the strength that it's gone to over the past sort of few years, and it's still quite new. There's still a lot of things that are changing, and obviously, still trying to bridge that gap a little bit. But it's, stuff like her game 2 is really important because it is helping to raise that awareness and to get girls more involved, and they should be, So
yeah, definitely. And David, yourself, what were your thoughts on all of this? I mean, you have children yourself as well, so
yeah. No, I've got 2 girls. I took my eldest to her first game this season. She came to one of the friendlies, so hopefully I need her to get the bug, because it will make it a bit easier for me to get to more away games if I can tell the wife that I'm going to take one of the kids away for the day.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's a really important movement, and Paige does a lot for the club as our ambassador, and it'd be interesting to know if the girls that created this actually thought it would be where it is now, because it seems like it's gone massive. It's everywhere now.
It's Premier League, isn't it?
Premier League. I think they've got a rugby group, a cricket group as well. They've got lots, and as I said, as a dad of 2 daughters, it'd be important when I want to start taking them regularly that they're comfortable in the environment of a football stadium.
Yeah, and Eddie, obviously, this started in 2021, so it's been quite a relatively new thing. So, what are your thoughts on her game 2, and what it does for the equality in sport itself?
Oh, it's a bit unfortunate you could have asked 3 blokes about this, but I would say,
we did want to get paid, John.
yeah. But 2 things really. One, it's still needed now, and it's fantastic because there are still plenty of dinosaurs out there who maybe don't realise they're being dinosaurs sometimes. But all I'd say is the best thing about all this is now, compared with when I first went to football 40 odd years ago, the expectation of a woman now going to football, or a girl, it's normal, right? It was unusual 40 years ago, which is shame on past generations, and it's still not perfect, but the direction of travel is fantastic. So I just applaud them.
Yeah,
Chris,
no,
I just got
definitely.
a text from Paige saying that she's too shy. So I welcome
Yeah,
it.
yeah, no,
Maybe
she
next
did
year.
say. She did say to me, because we were going to do like a whole Her Game 2 episode with a couple of other ladies from different podcasts around the country, but it was logistically a nightmare. So we were going to do that, and we were going to get Paige to come on as well. But Paige did tell me that she's a bit shy, so we're building her up.
You should have got Sarah Potter on just to be gobby instead.
Tell us all about the yellow cards. So, we just quickly move on to the game there, boys, and look at that beauty. So I will go with you, David, first, mate, and your overview of the game.
Yeah, it was hard to gauge whether we were better, Bradford were poor, or what. But yeah, I was so disappointed with Bradford. You see a team that comes off I think, what was it? They'd won 13 of 15 or something ridiculous, and they didn't feel like they created anything really. By the first 5 or 10 minutes, where I thought they were probably on top, I felt that we were comfortable. I never felt that we looked like scoring. They looked like scoring, sorry. And obviously the problem we have with us is whether we'll be able to go down the other end and get one ourselves. And obviously, Connor popped up in the second half with a good chance, and we missed a couple of chances as well. It was a more Gillingham-esque performance than we've seen. We definitely grew into the game, and we looked more comfortable. We had players snapping into tackles. My only worry moving forward, it's the amount of chances that we create in a game. Are we going to be able to score enough goals to potentially, maybe not this season, because I touch wood, I think we're safe now. I'm going to put it out there, but yeah, like next season we need to find a way to score goals, because I don't know if it's the same with you guys, that I never come away thinking our centre forwards missed loads of chances, because it feels like they don't have chances, and if they do, it's something a bit like Bodé's chance that he created out of nothing. You don't see a Gillingham player put someone and they're one-on-one with the goalkeeper. They need to fix this creativity thing. And so I want to mention something that we discussed before, that I saw Eddie had messaged someone on Twitter regarding
Hayden Harry.
Yeah, that we could break a record at the weekend it's level a record, isn't it, for amount of games a Gillingham side's gone without scoring 2 in a game. And if you want to get promoted, you've got to score goals. And it does feel like we discuss this all the time, Gillingham scoring goals, but one was enough this week. But I think moving forward, if we want to get promoted, we need to somehow fix the goal scoring element and the creativity element.
Yeah. And Tom, your overall thoughts on Saturday and astounding 1-0 win against Bradford?
Oh, doing a bit of research, obviously. We've won 11 games this season in the league, and 8 of them have been by a 1-0 scoreline, which just shows, we're really good at defending 1-0 leads. Well, sometimes, apart from Fleetwood and Harrogate, I think it was. But it just shows that, Bradford turned up and they weren't what I was expecting. I thought they would be on the front foot. They had a lot of the ball, but creating chances was quite 9 shots seems a little bit. It didn't seem like either team had as many shots as that's the stats are saying we are. But obviously that is accurate. They had a couple of attacking midfielders. They obviously had Lapsley and Lee up front, which to me doesn't scream goals. They're missing Andy Cook, obviously, but they've done quite well without him. So I thought Bradford were a little bit toothless, in all honesty. We had the better opportunities in the second half. We were quite dangerous from sort of long throws, which normally we're not. We just sort of go past the first man and then that's it. It was scrappy at times, but we got through it, and all we had to do was just hold on really for that 1-0. But I didn't really think Bradford actually kind of tested us that much, apart from one shot at Morris in the sort of 80th minute or so. Quite comfortable with it. I was expecting more from Bradford, but maybe it's just a bad day at the office for them. And we did all that we had to do just to get through it.
Yeah, that's it. you have to think, they've been on an amazing run. You can't take that away from them. And for me, it's a case, it's like with any team, like all good things must come to an end. You can't win every single game. And it's just very us at the moment, isn't it? Like best team in the league, they come to Priestfield and we turn them over 1-0. Like it happened to put him against Port Vale. It's happened to teams in the past. We've been on a horrid run of form, really. And then we just go and pull out something like that. So, yeah, Eddie, your overall thoughts on Saturday's proceedings?
Well, it fell into sort of different categories. I mean, I was very pleased that Andy Cook's injured because he always scores against us. So that was great news. Yeah, it reminded me of the Port Vale home game, actually, because they were top when we played them and we beat them 1-0. And you came away from the Port Vale game going, they're top. And I mean, like Bradford, if they'd won, would have gone top. Well, does that say something about the quality of this division right now? I mean, it's not a vintage year, I don't think. Or is it just, as you say, they're missing a couple of other players as well, I think. Or is it it's the best we've played at home for months. Mm-hmm. And so that was a plus. But I think, Bradford were not great. I mean, we were after the game, we were chatting to some Bradford fans in the pub and, they just admitted we were worthy winners and, they just wished us well for the rest of the season and stuff. And they just admitted, they'd had an off day. But after such a great run, occasionally you can hit a bump in the road, can't you? I really enjoyed it. I mean, the first half, Bradford had 2 good spells and when they had quite a lot of the ball, not that many chances, but they looked dangerous on the edge of our box and then going, oh, God, here we go. If they score now, especially if they had a good spell just for half time, we go, no, God. But we got to half time okay, intact. Yeah. And then obviously the goal, 56th minute or whatever, suddenly the crowd are up for it. The Rainham ends found its voice. Some refereeing decisions got the crowd going as well. I love it when there's righteous indignation in the Rainham end. That really is a plus for me. It gets the crowd going. They love to hate a ref. And you could see the players feeding off it. And I think there was someone posted a wonderful video of the Rainham end at the end singing the last waltz for players when they celebrate. And that just was a feel-good factor we've lacked for a lot of this season, and it just reminded everybody why you want to be a Gillingham fan and why it can be glorious and wonderful and smashing and great and all that. And Bradford didn't really lay much on us in the second half, and it was a bit comfortable, although only 1-0, so you've got to be careful. 2-0 would have taken the roof off, I think. So, it was brilliant. I mean, also, I'm so pleased with some of the players, especially the young ones on loan, because they've now seen the Rainham end give them absolute wonderful support at the end of a 1-0 win, and they must go, oh, my God, we'd like to do that again, Oh, they don't hate us if we play well and win, or if we play well, really. And hopefully that will keep rebuilding that bond that I think a lot of us felt had been a bit battered by the end of last year and start of this year. So, it was starting to be rebuilt at Walsall away when we scored that brilliant goal, and the team nearly jumped into the away end. I mean, it was fantastic, and we are starting, I think, to rebuild that link a bit. And it's very important for a club like us because I think we pride ourselves. We're not the biggest or best club, but we pride ourselves on backing the team, and if they put in the effort, making it hard for teams to come to Priestfield and making the Rainham end a real, a bear pit in the second half. And I was delighted and went home and celebrated with lots of beer.
That's it. No, it was a good game overall for me. I had the kids at the weekend. Wife was working, so I did watch it live, but wasn't actually at the ground, unfortunately. But just did a few laps around the dining room and living room when Connor scored, to be honest. But yeah, absolutely brilliant game. So we missed it last week, but we'll touch on Phil's thoughts.
Who would have thought it? 3 fantastic points. We absolutely dominated the game. We played really well and we're celebrating. And it's such a great feeling, particularly after Tuesday night over at Newport. I felt really down after that defeat. So to be out here celebrating fantastic 3 points against one of the informed teams, Awesome. Up the Gills.
There we go. So that was Phil's thoughts. We haven't had them for quite a while, and we did miss them last week because we had quite a packed show. So we'll quickly touch on our man of the matches, and we will go with Dave first because it seems to be that you're the odd one out this week, mate. So why Connor?
I just thought that I think like Eddie mentioned, we saw the Connor Masterson that we signed a couple of years ago, and I think he did show what we've missed with not having him around. After having so long out, we were dead on his feet in the end, wasn't he? He had to come off with cramp. He scored the goal. He looked pretty controlled, considering he got a very early booking as well, which can't have been easy when you've been out for so long. To what's it, the third or fourth minute, I think he got booked. And yeah, I just thought that he showed leadership. He showed passion when he scored, and he's one of those weird ones that I thought wanted out because I thought it was when Harris went. I thought his form majorly fell off a cliff, and I think we kind of saw that he does love the club, and it felt like he was playing for a contract, which I think some of the other players that are out of contract could probably look at Connor and say that, yeah, if I keep playing like this, I could earn myself a contract. But I don't know what you guys felt like. I did feel sorry for Max having to come on with 10 minutes to go. You were just waiting for something to happen and it fall to him and it all go wrong. But no, I'm glad it didn't. And yeah, it was. And I when I played football, I was a defender, so I always have a soft spot for defenders.
Fair enough. So yeah, Tom, Joe, and why?
Joe gets a lot of debate online for lack of end product, and people maybe think that the one of our own thing kind of prevents him from criticism. I just think he offers us something that nobody else in the squad can come close to, which is forward thinking, takes people on, bit of skill. Yes, his quality in front of goal leaves a lot to be desired. This is the first real run of form that he's had in the team consistently in terms of games played from the start. He needs games and he will get there eventually. We're still working out where he's best placed, but I think on Saturday he made Bradford defenders a little bit wary of where they were. He was taking people on. That chance he created where he's gone through and kind of, tamely shot at the keeper in the end, he made that himself. And we have nobody else in that team that makes things themselves as regularly as he does. Yes, sometimes you don't always know what he's going to do. Sometimes Joe doesn't even know what he's going to do with it. But ultimately, he makes things happen. And in a team that is starved of any kind of pace or direct running and skill, he's the only person that gives us that. And I think on Saturday, he was the best of both. He was skillful, but he was also physical as well. And if he can get into a position where he is playing week in, week out, he's going to get better. So I think he deserved it.
Where would you play him, Tom?
Well, if we're going to carry on playing a awkward three up front, one of those. I would personally play him in a winger situation with somebody else on the other wing who's able to do similar. For me, if Aaron Rowe was able to walk properly, he would be on the other wing, but that's not going to happen. So I would play him right now. I'll play him up front, no questions asked on that one. But I would see him as more of a winger because he's got the ability to take people on.
Yeah. And Eddie.
Well, I probably owe him an apology because after one particularly toothless display at one home game, I sort of was in the pub after and I just called him a poor man's Andiano. And thing is, since then he's had two storming home games. Now, it's complicated because he's not a striker who's going to get you 20 goals, but he's like a forward. So if he creates stuff for other people, I hope he develops and blossoms and everything else, but it doesn't strike me that he's ever going to be a fox in the box, put it that way. However, the last couple of games at home, he has been, as you said earlier, the only person with pace, unpredictability, turning defenders, running at them, making them commit, making them make errors, getting the crowd up. And if only he could finish, well, then bigger teams will be looking at him, I think. So I wish him well, and I'd love him to score a goal that means it's not in a defeat, So I love the effort, and obviously he's young, and hopefully he'll blossom a little bit more. But yeah, physically, pace-wise, he led the line fantastically, and gave the Bradford defenders a torrid time. And as you say, we've been lacking in that for most of this season. So hope he can do it again on Saturday.
Yeah, I don't think I've got anything else really to add to that. I think there was in the first half or second half. He literally did something with his feet, and he's like gone past two players, and I was just like, what actually did he just do there? Like,
it was second half when he was attacking on the left hand side, and he's just done that little kind of doo-doo thing. I was like, well, okay,
and I was like, yeah. So
natural skill.
Natural skill. Or it's just a case of, that worked.
Yeah.
I don't think I've really got anything different. And Paige has gone for Joe as well. We don't know her reasons, but I'm pretty sure they're not too dissimilar to the other three of us. So, Saturday. And we are away to Accrington Stanley, who have lost one. And we have drawn lost one. So, I will go with you, David, first on this one. What are your hopes and aspirations at the Wham Stadium on Saturday?
Well, I hope their pattern doesn't continue. I think they've got to look to go and win there. Accrington don't look very good. I know we haven't, but we have that. We're bar Newport. We're normally pretty steady at the back and pretty hard to break down. So I think if they can go there and again get a 1-0 Gills result, I think we would all take that. It's going to be tough because they're still scrapping as well, and obviously the John Coleman effect. I don't know if this is probably will be his first visit back since he left. So he'll want to come away with something. And every game is a chance for those out of contract to earn a contract, because I said a month or so ago, every Gills fan was getting rid of the whole lot of them. So some of them have got the chance to change people's minds, and they've got 11 or 12 games left to do that. And fingers crossed we can get a win, because then we're back at home against top of the league, and we seem to do all right against top of the league. So it'd be nice to fix that away form.
Yeah. Well, just quickly touch on what you just said about keeping a lot of them or getting rid of a lot of them. I think they've got to do a lot more than beat Bradford for me to keep them. I mean, I'd keep Robbie and I'd keep Glenn, but they've got to do more than beat Bradford 1-0 for the rest of the season for me to want to keep, any others of them, to be quite honest with you. So, Eddie, we were just quickly touching you, mate, and what are your hopes and aspirations for Saturday? And I'm absolutely no doubt in my mind that you will be there.
Hopefully. Trains permitting. Yeah, no. Well, there's a couple of things. I mean, I think a lot of people look at the fixtures, go, of our remaining away games, that's one of the more winnable games if we are going to win another away game this season. I think the Coleman thing will be a thing for them because he's such a legend. So I'd imagine you'll get a great reception from the home crowd. It might put a couple of hundred on the crowd. Thing is, I mean, I'd like us to score 2 goals so we don't get the club record that was set in 1911, to be honest. They've only the record number of games without scoring more than 1 goal. So 2 goals would be awesome. Now, we were so frustrated looking to this fixture at one point. We were going to have some arrows made up and laminated and point at the goal. But we then thought that the players might not see the funny side of that. But also, they couldn't put us along the side, so we're not behind the goal. So that sort of got stuffed up by that. But on a more serious note, if we can get up, first goal is crucial in all Gillingham games right now because we can't score a second very often. So and also the confidence is a huge thing. If we score first, those players showed, like on Saturday, and against, once we've got ahead against Morecambe and that plenty of them will battle hard now. I think that is one of the best things that maybe Coleman has brought to the side. It should be a bloody bare minimum, but they are doing it on occasion. Accrington will be highly motivated, but compared with other fixtures we've got on the horizon, this is one where you go, well, you shouldn't go into it scared. I should add also that Walsall at home might be off due to their international call-ups, so you'll know more in the coming week about that. But that could be off because it was off, obviously, when we were supposed to play them earlier in the season as well. So,
oh, blimey! Well, I've just realised that I've taken us back a month.
That's right. No one noticed.
Yeah, no, it's all right. Hey, look at me, I'm a dickhead. So who have Walsall got? Who do they play for? Like internationally?
Oh, mostly countries in the Caribbean and stuff. But they've got some under 21 players like for Ireland and stuff as well.
Oh, right.
So I think they had 6. Someone now mentioned they've got 7, but maybe one of the islands that they've got 2 players off aren't playing. So we'll see.
Didn't we have it with Che? Che Alexander played for Kitts and Nevis, wasn't it?
I mean they've got players who play for micro states in the Caribbean mostly, or under 21s. But
okay, so
Combene get a call up from his country.
Nelson Combene, he's Cameroonian, isn't he?
No idea.
Mali in it.
Mali,
let's just play African country, roulette and
roulette.
What it is.
Okay, so Tom, your hopes and aspirations for Saturday, the 15th of March and not February.
I was going to make a gag about playing with freedom, but that's George Michael in it, not Wham, so that wouldn't really work out very well, would it? Can't think of any more Wham songs, to be fair. Listen, Accrington need it more than we do, ultimately. Keep it quiet for half an hour. Don't fall apart like we did against Newport, because ultimately we're all on a high after the Bradford victory. If we go and get beaten by Accrington, it's going to be a case of, this, that, and the other, and it's going to be another very long week on social media dealing with that outburst. So, go there, scrap through it, get a 1-0 win. I don't care how, but just keep that momentum going. Get a win, bring it back home, because it's been a long time since we won away. Was it MK when we last won away?
MK. I would say just one thing. Just sorry to interrupt. When we played Accrington at home, they were the masters of the dark arts. The cheating, gamesmanship, and everything else was off the scale that day. Normally, you think AFC Wimbledon are the worst team in this division for that, and they are still bad. They're terrible at doing that, and we don't seem to be able to deal with that. And Accrington mugged us at Pre-Shield. I mean, people were screaming at the referee, but the referee let them get away with murder. So we need a strong referee on Saturday, because otherwise they will manipulate the situation. They cheated their way through 90 minutes at Gillingham, so they can stick their milk everywhere where the sun don't shine.
So Eddie's not a fan then. Okay. No, I reckon. Thing is, at the same time, I think we need to be aware of anything like that and able to combat that, rather than letting that be an excuse for why we don't win. I think that's got to be a case of actually, no, we're able to match anyone with the so-called dark arts, and ultimately away from home as well. Too many teams have come to Priestfield this season and done that and got away with it, and we just let them do it. So let's put the shoe on the other foot now and go to Accrington, a tough place to go, and play them at their own game.
Yeah, I'd love us to just kick on from Saturday, to be honest, and just put in a good performance. So part of me says that we won't. Part of me says that it's going to be a repeat of Newport, because it just seems to be the way we are at the moment. But as long as it's not a 0-0 draw and a boring game, because otherwise you may have to wake me up before you go.
No,
hey!
that was not. No. I don't know.
I tried. What can I say?
Hey, Chris, if you want Wham gags, I'm your man.
Right. Anyway, guys, as you all know, we are in partnership with the Gillingham FC Supporters Club, so you can sign up today at gfcsc.co.uk. We are also sponsored by Snodhurst Used Car Sales and Service Station. So for all of your car needs, whether you need it fixed or you would like to buy a new one, then grab the guys there. We are pretty much at the end of the show. We do have a special outro this evening for Steve White, who, as you all know, sadly passed away on Tuesday evening unexpectedly. So we will be playing that out this evening as we go. But if you haven't yet, we haven't been able to go live on X this evening, or Facebook. So yeah, you can get us at The View from the Medway Fancast at X, Facebook at The View from the Medway, or YouTube at The View from the Medway Fancast. So I've been Chris, he's been David, he's been Eddie, he's been Tom. Good morning wherever you are, good afternoon wherever you are, good evening wherever you are, good night, and up the Jills.